It's been a bone of contention the last few years specifically. The education system, where it's going. I think certainly the pandemic highlighted there are other ways for learners to learn, but also after the pandemic we've seen a number of sort of different issues that have been presented in the education system. But we'll get more of an insight with our guest shortly, who is going to give us an insight into the education system, where it's going. So Alice, Barnard, welcome to the show. Great to have you on board.
Lovely to be here.
So give us a bit more of an insight, Alice, of the education system, and what's your take on it? I must agree, I sort of read the report, I kind of echo some of the sentiments, to be honest, and I don't want to sort of sound critical of teachers. I know they do a great job, but the actual system itself, I feel, is probably outdated. But what's your take on it?
Well, our take at the Edge Foundation, but also the 2,000 people we polled, was that less than a quarter of adults thought that the current education system in England prepared young people well for the workplace. So that's quite a staggering statistic, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of because the world's changing, isn't it, really? I mean, the world is different to what it used to be. Technology is moving along really, really quickly, and a lot of things have changed. And what's your sort of take on, what are people generally dissatisfied about? I mean, what is the vision for the future? What are the alternatives?
Well, I think our current education system is very narrow and constantly narrows the options of students. Whereas something like the Advanced British Standard starts to open up and create a much broader and more balanced curriculum so that students can blend academic and vocational pathways without having to make a binary choice between one or the other. And I think what we've seen is over the last 20 years, as you quite rightly say, the world has changed. We live in a global economy which is constantly evolving, and yet our education system mirrors that of the one in 1904. Now that is a massive mismatch. We are challenging young people to work in this highly digitized space, but providing a curriculum that is incredibly backward. So this is an opportunity to rethink what we could do in the future, and the Advanced British Standard is one way of looking at how we can blend subjects, give more choice, and put young people in the driving seat.
And can you give us more of an insight into what that entails? I mean, you've kind of mentioned now sort of blending the curriculum, and do you have any sort of examples maybe the listeners could sort of, I know that we could be here for, but in the short time we have, but just basically what would be an example for, say, a learner who may not get the benefit of the education system as it is today? What's the alternative? What could they do? Is there an example you can maybe share that for some learners?
Of course. So something like the Advanced British Standard would allow young people to study a minimum of 5 subjects. They'd be able to do majors and minors. So majors would be bigger, chunkier qualifications, and minors would be smaller ones. This would allow that blend of academic and vocational. So it would be a little bit like being able to do A-levels and BTECs as you do now alongside each other, but a much, much bigger choice. It would also create more teaching hours, so more teacher-to-student contact, and it would allow students to tailor-make their education. So thinking about the areas that they're good at, what excites them, what interests them, they'd be much more in control of what they do next. It would also be a big benefit for the economy. The current skills shortages are costing the UK economy £39 billion. So if we can match young people's skills with the demand of the economy, then we really are going to not only improve the social context, but we're also going to improve the economic one.
Absolutely. And what would it take for change? I mean, I know every school's different. Some schools have different, but obviously there's limitations to what they can do, I'm sure as well. But I mean, what's it going to take for change, Alice? I mean, like you said, 1904. I mean, we're in 2024 now. The world's a completely different place, really. And I think sometimes, the survey is really interesting because, but also, I know obviously, that some of the young people are going to be to include into survey. I'd like to know their take on their experience in school. I mean, it's I think for a lot of young people, it's just they're doing things that they're not interested in and they're never going to use, in my opinion anyway. And I don't understand what the point of not introducing them to things that they enjoy doing, things that are going to benefit them and the economy. What do you think is going to take for change? I mean, the policymakers are saying, you know what, we've got to move forward now.
Well, I think that's really interesting. I think the appetite for change is here. I mean, this was an interesting piece of polling. This is 2,000 adults across England. They had a real range of profiles, so different. They voted a different way. They're in different socio-economic groups. They're different age groups, and yet the stats are all really common. So I think what we can say is that the public, young people, parents, teachers, there's a real appetite to do the right thing. But as you say, there's been a stagnation around policy. The ABS is probably that first move towards something different, and that is encouraging. And Labour have pledged a review of the curriculum and assessment, and they've also promised to pause and review the defunding of BTECs, which allow for a more modular approach than, say, the T-levels. So I think we're starting to see a different trajectory. I think finally politics is catching up with everyone else in the country, that the current education system is not fit for purpose. Teachers do a great job, but they have to do that within the constraints of the system that we currently have. This would allow freedom, flexibility and choice.
No, absolutely. And you know, speaking from experience myself too, I mean, I'm a lecturer as well, but I've done like some supply teaching occasionally at the occasional school here and there in between roles. And my sort of honest thoughts say, I mean, teachers are working non-stop. They are putting a lot of hours in. But the thing is, it's like the impression I get is kind of like, you know, I mean, the students are great too. It's just they're in this sort of situation where a lot of them just aren't given the opportunity. Just the whole sort of system is so rigid in terms of the way it works and the way they kind of, you know, confined to this system where they've got to like sit down and it's just the whole learning structure. I think one of the big things for me, it's probably another story for another day, I think with the advent of technology and the way people learn these days and just the whole change in sort of mindset and psyche of people, it does need a review really. And like you've mentioned there, sort of taking things away that are experiential. People learn from experiences. They want to get out there, want to do things, and you can just see, you know, the young people kind of, the eyes light up when they're doing things that they do enjoy doing, when they have got some sort of like, you know, connection to things. And what do you think is the next step for you? Whether we sort of, what can we do going forward? Like, you know, I think that's important that people kind of at least take this on board, because it is an important thing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, everything you say is correct. You know, at the moment, there's a lot of disengagement and there's a lot of school refusers. So this could be an opportunity to actually make education both challenging and exciting, and hopefully re-engage some of those students that have fallen by the wayside, and also make teaching more pleasurable again, because teachers are having to drill young people for high-stakes exams. That isn't fun for the pupil, that isn't fun for the teacher. And ultimately, is an exam the right way to test a young person's broad knowledge and skills? I don't think it is. Exams could be part of that, but surely we've moved to a point now where assessment could be much broader and allow the capturing of the essence of that young person, both through exams, but also through extended projects, for example. The ABS would also allow students to study English and Maths to 18, not as an A-level, but much more as a functional skill and understanding how that relates to the real world. And as you say, many pupils really find it engaging when they understand what they're studying and how it relates to the world of work. So isn't it time we have much more engagement with employers so that we are really creating an environment where young people understand the purpose of their education and also have an opportunity to understand what the opportunities are beyond school, so either an apprenticeship or university, and understand what the world of work looks like and prepare them for that next step.
Absolutely. And I mean, my experience was a long time ago when I went to school, but certainly in my experience, like, you know, when I think back to things, and I felt in a way, Alice, I started like 100 meters behind the line in a sprint against people who went to different schools, and I'm not having to go up the school I went to, because a lot, you know, people in the same situation, but just the whole opportunity, like what we were aware of, what we could do as well, and just the way things were, and the way I felt I learnt, and like I look at it these days and I think, well, what exactly has changed? It's almost like, you know, the same as it was back then, and there's so many people that are talented. I speak to young people, they're very talented, they're bright, they just don't fit into that sort of system that is too rigid. And you can see the teachers getting frustrated because they don't want to just sit there and like the exam for me is just a test of memory. What does it really prove on the day? I think experiential stuff is the way to go. But no, it's been interesting speaking to you. It's great to hear. I thought I can't be the only one that's thinking. Like when I sort of read the report. But there we go. It's If people want to read the research, the report, is there any way you can send them to have a read through for themselves?
Absolutely. If they agree with Jimmy and the Edge Foundation and the 2,000 people we've just polled, you can go to www.edgefoundation.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time and have a great day, Alice. Thank you.
Thank you.